There's an active supervolcano just off the coast of New Zealand's North Island that might be waking up. And it could spell big trouble for this island nation of about 5 million people. But let's be honest, the only reason you clicked on this video is because you wanted to see what happens when one of these bad boys erupts. Well, then, by popular demand, here are 5 recent events that will blow your mind. Hey there, welcome to my channel. I'm your host, and you can find me on social media. Our first story today is about a massive explosion that happened in Iceland recently. Not too long ago, I made a video where I talked about how Mount Ibu in Indonesia erupted and created a cloud of ash so large it was visible from space. Well, something similar happened in Iceland recently. A volcano known as Bardarbunga erupted earlier this week, sending a plume of ash more than 10 kilometers or 6.2 miles into the sky. The eruption has since been downgraded from an eruption of magnitude 4 to an eruption of magnitude 2. Magnitude 4 is the highest level of volcanic eruption on the Volcanic Explosivity Index, or VEI. However, scientists expect the eruption at Bardarbunga to continue for several months. This volcano is located near the country's most active volcanic zone, the so-called Fire and Ice Ring, which runs through the country from the West Fjords all the way to the southeast. The ring is dotted with craters, hot springs and geothermal areas and is considered one of the most volcanically active spots on Earth. According to the Icelandic Meteorological Office, the eruption started in an uninhabited area on the Holuhraun lava field in the northeast part of the country. Although no casualties have been reported so far, authorities are still urging people to stay away from the area due to toxic gases released during the eruption. Next, we're going to take a look at what's happening in New Zealand. Scientists are concerned that one of the world's largest volcanoes could be coming back to life. The massive White Island volcano, also known as Wakari, is located off the coast of New Zealand's North Island in the Bay of Plenty. It last erupted in 1914, but recent seismic activity suggests it may soon awaken again. GeoNet, New Zealand's national monitoring system for earthquakes and volcanoes, reported an increase in volcanic unrest at White Island in late September. Since then, more than 700 small earthquakes have been recorded around the volcano, many of them relatively shallow. GeoNet scientists say the earthquakes were caused by magma moving beneath the island. The swarm began on September 26th and peaked in early October with about 100 earthquakes in the first 2 days of this month. Earthquakes have continued to occur at a rate of about 10 per day over the past week. Most are too weak to be felt, but some have been as strong as magnitude 3. Earthquakes with magnitudes between 3 and 4 can sometimes be slightly felt. The last time White Island showed such activity was in 2012, when a similar earthquake swarm lasted for about 2 weeks. At the time, scientists said the unrest did not pose a serious threat of eruption, but rather suggested that the magma chamber might be slowly refilling. However, researchers say it's impossible to know if the volcano will erupt until it actually does. With over 1,000 recorded eruptions over the past 150 years, scientists are expecting another major eruption sometime in the future. White Island is New Zealand's most active volcano and one of the world's most volcanically active places. Its summit contains a lake of molten lava that can reach temperatures of 1,200 degrees Celsius, more than twice the boiling point of water. The 2012 unrest was also unusual because it occurred after a period of calm. White Island had been quiet for almost 100 years before the 1914 eruption, which killed over 120 people. The blast was one of the deadliest in recorded history and left the island completely changed. Now, although the current activity has not caused any problems so far, it's possible that it could be the beginning of a much larger event. GeoNet officials are continuing to monitor the situation closely. They say they will raise the alert level to 1 if the earthquakes increase in size or frequency, indicating that an eruption is becoming more likely. Officials say this would be the first change in the alert level since the 2012 unrest. An eruption at White Island could have major consequences for the surrounding area. Its remoteness makes rescue efforts difficult, and the lack of vegetation on the island means that a pyroclastic flow could travel far inland. In 1914, a pyroclastic flow traveled down the island's southeastern flank and reached within 5 kilometers of Whakatane Airport, which was built on the former site of the town of Opotiki. If the airport were to be destroyed, the nearest alternative airports would be Tauranga and Rotorua, both approximately 100 kilometers away. And even if rescue operations were successful, evacuations would cause major disruptions to transportation networks. Roads and rail lines could be blocked by debris, and emergency services would be stretched to their limits. The impact on the local economy would also be significant. The tourism industry would take a major hit, as visitors would be reluctant to travel to New Zealand's Bay of Plenty region. Businesses would be forced to close, and unemployment would rise. So while it's still too early to say whether the unrest at White Island will lead to an eruption, the potential consequences are clear. An eruption would cause widespread damage and disruption, killing hundreds of people and causing billions of dollars in property damage. Our next story is about a huge volcano in Russia. Recently, scientists discovered that a volcano that hadn't erupted for 9,000 years is now showing signs of life. Locals in the remote eastern region of Russia spotted steam billowing from the Rschizaya Sopka Volcano, indicating that the volcano is showing signs of awakening. The volcano is located in the Kamchatka Krai region, a sparsely populated area known for its active volcanoes. In fact, of Russia's 587 volcanoes, 300 of them are located in Kamchatka alone. Although the area is home to some of the world's most beautiful natural wonders, it is rarely visited by humans. Most of the region's 350,000 residents live in the regional capital of Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, a city that sits on the eastern edge of Russia's mainland, just a few kilometers from the Sea of Okhotsk. While the region is home to a number of active volcanoes, none are currently considered to be at risk of eruption. The Rschizaya Sopka volcano is one of only a handful of volcanoes in the region that is considered potentially active. This means that while it hasn't erupted in recent history, it could still erupt in the future. Until recently, the volcano had been dormant for thousands of years. However, in the past decade, scientists have noticed an increase in seismic activity in the area. This, combined with the recent steam emissions, has led some to believe that the volcano could be waking up. The Russian Academy of Sciences Institute for the Study of Earth's Crust says it's too early to say whether the volcano will erupt, but they are continuing to monitor the situation closely. Eruptions at volcanoes in the Kamchatka region are relatively rare. In fact, the last major eruption occurred in 1996 when the Uzon volcano erupted, sending an ash cloud 30 kilometers into the air. However, even though major eruptions are rare, smaller ones are common. In fact, scientists recorded nearly 100 small eruptions at various volcanoes in the region in 2021 alone. While eruptions at volcanoes in the Kamchatka region are relatively rare, they can be extremely dangerous. In 1996, the eruption of Uzon volcano caused widespread damage in the nearby town of Kliuchi, forcing thousands of people to evacuate. The ash from the eruption also disrupted air traffic at the regional airport. As a result, local authorities have developed strict safety protocols for volcanoes in the region. These protocols dictate how close people can approach a volcano, as well as what they should do in the event of an eruption. Despite the danger, some people still choose to live near active volcanoes. In the small village of Kliuchi, located near the Uzon volcano, only about 500 people remain. Those who have stayed behind say they are willing to accept the risk of living near an active volcano in order to preserve their homes and way of life. And our final story is about a mysterious explosion that rocked Alaska this week. Residents in the small town of Elim reported hearing a loud explosion followed by a bright light in the sky. Some witnesses said the explosion sounded like a jet engine, while others said it sounded like a gunshot. According to locals, the explosion happened at around 10:30 p.m. on Sunday evening. No damage or injuries were reported, but many residents were left shaken by the event. Local officials say they don't know what caused the explosion. The Federal Aviation Administration said no aircraft were in the area at the time, and there are no military bases or other potential sources of the explosion nearby. One theory is that the explosion was caused by a meteor. However, there were no reports of a meteor sighting in the area, and a meteor would likely have left behind some sort of debris. Another theory is that the explosion was caused by a sonic boom. However, sonic booms are usually associated with military aircraft, which were not in the area at the time. State troopers are investigating the explosion, but so far they haven't been able to determine what caused it. Anyone with information is urged to contact the Alaska State Troopers. Thanks for watching. What do you think caused the explosion in Alaska? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my others. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.